Good evening, everybody. It is Sunday night here in downtown Miami. Hopefully tonight we will be walking to the Wynwood area of Miami, but as of last checked a couple minutes ago in the futures market, the S&P 500, Dow Jones Industrial Average, and the NASDAQ futures all higher, all green across the board, as well as crude oil futures. Horatio Snipes is here. Says, hey, Annie's here. Charlie Richardson, what's going on? Otto says, hi, Tom, good evening. Timothy, what's up, Timothy? This is very nice night. Good to see you, Timothy. Long time no see. I see Solo 401 says, hello. Charlie Richardson, what's up, Charlie? Good to see you. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Now it's back to business. As we stand right outside of the FTX arena, Ken Kramer says, hey, what's up, Ken? Sunshine After Rain, Marjan Worldwide says, what's up? From Bridgehampton, Skate Bro, what's up, Marjan? Ice says, hi, Tom. Horatio Snipes says, I'm watching in a government chair at work, watching the stream. Very cool. Charlie, good to see you. Timothy, Ice, Marjan, Ken Kramer, Bidzita Lopez is here. Happy Sunday, Bidzita. Hope you had a very good weekend. Daniel G is here from Buenos Aires, Argentina. This is good evening, Tom. How are you? Doing very well. I wish the same for you. Ooh. Sorry about that. Horatio says, Tom, when are you back in New York? Sorry. So everybody, I will be back in New York in 2 days, surprisingly. Bart Trid says, hi, my friend. How are you? But it's a beautiful night in Miami. It's probably right around 75 degrees. Not humid at all. Very beautiful. Hunter Butler says, had a good day. So I think we're going to walk to the Wynwood district of Miami if we can make it tonight, everybody. I think that would be pretty cool. Hey, I see Marie O says, hello, Tom and chat. What's up, Marie? Good to see you, as always. I see Bidzita Lopez. Solo 401 says, get a slice of pizza for me. We will once we're back in New York. Daniel G says, glad to hear you're doing well. Where are we going tonight, Tom? Well, we should be going to Wynwood. So we're going to walk this way and to the right. I believe that's where it is. Alan Wilson says, good evening, everyone. I've been waiting for you. I thought we were walking earlier today. Yes, so Alan, we were supposed to, but I got caught up doing a bunch of work stuff, unfortunately. Sabrina Fair says, hi, Tom. Nice to see you. Nice to see you, Sabrina, as always. I'll give you guys a view of the traffic here. Hey, War Walker says, evening, Tomcat. How are you? Wynwood is too far from downtown. So War Walker, I believe, I was looking at Google Maps. I believe it is walking distance. We'll see. I guess we'll have to find out. I'm not really too familiar with the area, but good to see you as always. Lisa Lovely says, hey, all. What's going on, Lisa? Ice says, it looks beautiful out. It is a beautiful day today. Joey's here, says, hi, Tom. The Swan says, hi, Tom. Hi, all. Go, Miami, go. The Swan is joining us from Ireland. Good to see you. War Walker says, nope. All right, then I guess we'll just, spend time around here, I guess. Solo 401 says, no one's beeping. Weird. Yeah, War Walker, for sure. Uncle Car Guy says, are you going back to New York for Christmas? We will. Absolutely, we are. So I'm going to be spending Christmas and New Year's with the family in New York as we are here outside of the FTX arena. I see Lisa says, love Ireland. British Gray is here from the one and only Tampa, Florida. Good to see you. Hope everybody had a good weekend. So I guess we'll get started. At the time of recording this, everybody, I was looking at the futures. So the futures are open for the night, and we are green across the board. I believe the S&P 500 E-mini futures contract was up about 25 points. Running at altitudes, this thumbnail says 4K resolution, but this is only 1080p. Yeah, so for some reason, I don't even know how to change the thumbnail on the streams until after the stream is actually over. So I'm not sure how to do that. Every time I try to go in there and change it, it just defaults back to a very old thumbnail from when we used to shoot 4K videos on the skateboard. Lisa says Jersey here, loves Miami, looks like a nice night. Yeah, it's beautiful here. What part of Miami? Hey, Melee is here. Says, what part of New Jersey are you from? Melee says hi, Tom. What's up, Melee? Good to see you. Sabrina Fair, how are you? Uncle Car Guy, good to see you. Hey, Alex says, Tom, good evening from a country in Northwestern Europe. Very cool. Uncle Car Guy says the Miami Heat plays tomorrow. Did not know that. Hey, Diane Vance says, good evening. What's up? What's going on, everybody? So we are here on the corner of Northeast 8th Street. And we will cross US 1 Biscayne Boulevard. Okay, so Lisa is joining us from the Hoboken, New Jersey area. Very cool. So when I was living in New York, during the pandemic, I used to always go to Hoboken, New Jersey, because Hoboken was the only place that was actually open for indoor dining, surprisingly. So everybody who lived in New York City would go to Hoboken, New Jersey. Hey, Dr. Ray Ray says, good evening, Tom, from New York City and everybody. What's going on? Solo 401 says it's all good. I never really look at the title anyway. You're the only alert I have set up too. Appreciate that, Solo 401. Really do appreciate it. Uncle Car Guy says the Heat plays the Grizzlies tomorrow, right here. NJB says beautiful buildings. Hey, I think we see our pal from New Zealand. Good to see you again. Grant says good day from New Zealand. What's up, Grant? So if we look straight ahead, this red building here is actually the Freedom Tower in downtown Miami. Very cool. Peter Webley says cold in LA, 55 degrees. That is really cold. I believe if it gets 55 degrees here, you have the iguanas start falling from the trees. So this is Biscayne Boulevard, Highway US 1. We'll cross the street and walk up this way. I don't think we've ever done that on the channel. We always go to the other side. NJB says, I'm getting new glasses this coming week. I'm very excited about it. Ray-Bans. I've had broken glasses lately. Very cool. That's awesome, man. Take me to the sea. Says 8th Street Grab. Cafecito, Tom. What's going on? Take me to the sea. Good to see you. Peter Webley. Lisa says Hoboken is always open. Yep, that is true. Hey, Dr. Ray says, I got family in Miami. British Grace says to everybody from my family, to yours, happy holidays, stay healthy and safe. Appreciate it. Yeah, Marisa O says true. Whenever it gets that cold, the iguanas do fall from the trees here. Pretty interesting, but pretty weird. So let's go down this way and we'll explore down here. I don't think we've ever been down here on the channel before. Yeah, sunshine after rain. It is quite weird. The iguanas actually, they're in like a frozen state. But once it warms back up, they start to move around again. Very strange. Hey, Lisa Lovely says, Marie O brought me here to your channel. Appreciate that. I'm glad you're here. Hey, Buy the Book says, hey, Tom and all. What is going on, Buy the Book? Yeah, Lisa Lovely says, iguanas are everywhere in Florida. Me says, hey, Tom, happy holidays to you and your family. Question, your position on Bitcoin, and can Bitcoin be shorted? How is Bitcoin taxed? And most accounts are anonymous. Thanks to stay safe. Yeah, so my take on Bitcoin, I think it will act as the world reserve's store of value. What was your other question? Can it be taxed? Yeah, it is taxed. So in terms of capital gains, it just gets taxed like ordinary capital gains taxes. So I guess if you want to mitigate your taxes, you should probably, if you're looking to buy it, you should probably just hold it for a prolonged period of time, because it does abide by the regular short-term capital gains taxes and long-term capital gains taxes as well. What was your other question? Me says, can Bitcoin be shorted? Yes. Just like any other or any stock or commodity, you can place a short bet, which essentially is betting that the price of Bitcoin will fall. You could absolutely do that on some different exchanges. I wouldn't recommend doing that, in my view, but it can certainly be done. I believe Goldman Sachs just announced that they are going to be developing a derivatives trading desk around cryptocurrencies, which will be launching soon. And it was actually an ex-Goldman Sachs managing director that once he left Goldman Sachs, he went to work at Fortress Investments, which is a very well-renowned hedge fund right in Manhattan. In which case he did very well there and minted himself a billionaire. And now he broke off and he is starting Galaxy Digital Assets, which acts as an institutional broker-dealer to onboard large institutional investors into the cryptocurrency markets. NJB, good to see you. Me, good to see you. NNB045 says, good evening again, Tom. Snowing here in Montreal. Wow, yeah, I believe Mark Davis was telling me it was snowing there in Toronto, Canada as well. NJB says, I've never been to Florida or even very close, but maybe someday. Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. It's beautiful here. The only thing, if you don't like the humidity, in the summer it definitely is humid for sure. Let me make sure I'm not missing anybody's comments. Dr. Ray says, hey Tom, did you see the Bright Rail Line station to downtown Miami? Did I see it? Oh, is that the Metro movie you're talking about? Diana Van says, I will take an iguana over a snake any day. Nikado says, yes, I do, Nikado. War Walker says, take the mover and look a beautiful view on the way. Maybe we'll do that. Nguyen says, good evening, Tom. What do you think is the best long-term stocks to buy to hedge against inflation? So, usually as a long-term hedge against inflation, you probably want to try to figure out which stocks are producing the most free cash, right? Because I guess you have to really understand what the hurdle rate is. So so to give you an example, and I think this is pretty good to talk about because we just had an inflationary print on the CPI of about 6.4%, which is really, really high. So inflation's running at about 6.4% per year, which is really, really high. So it's best to invest into companies that are producing enough free cash to outpace that inflationary erosion. And if you don't really want to be bothered with trying to pick and choose individual stocks that'll do that, you're probably better off just dollar cost averaging into an index fund that tracks the S&P 500 or something like that. Because just to give you a prime example, the S&P this year, I believe, is up about roughly 20%. Don't quote me on that, but roughly about 20%. So if we have a CPI print of 6.4, well, then the S&P's done a pretty good job of outpacing inflation. A pretty good job. So long as none of your individual stocks have gone up less than 6.4%, you're pretty good as an inflation hedge. But in terms of an inflationary hedge that I use is I own Bitcoin and starting to develop positions in physical silver. But we'll talk more about that later for sure. So I think this is One Museum Tower right here. Maria O's is 75 in Tampa and 75 in Miami and 63 in Tampa, Florida. Grant's humidity high 83 there. Wow. Dr. Ray says it is next to Metro Rail at Government Center Station. We'll have to check it out. I've never seen it before. NJB says snow is legit a curse word in Vermont. Yeah, it's anywhere in upstate New York, near Buffalo, Niagara Falls. It snows like crazy there. Lisa Lovely says Canada equals free healthcare. Says Lisa. Warren says hello from Costa Rica, everybody. What's up, Warren? Good to see you. Maria O says Canada gets snow as soon as winter hits. You know what, Maria O? It was actually snowing a bit when I was walking in Manhattan the other day. This was last week. It was snowing in Manhattan. Not like crazy, but nothing much. Daryl says good evening from Chicago, Illinois. Ticker Time says hello. Good to see you, Ticker Time, as always. Diane says this is the same ground cover that you were at the other day. Yeah, so for some reason I was looking at Google Maps. It said Wynwood was up this way, but I guess not, according to our pal War Walker. Grand Stenton says very nice there and not busy, and there's not many homeless hanging around. Very good observation. Cat B says Lisa Lovely, Canadian healthcare is not free. We pay lots of taxes here in Canada. Yeah, I guess the old saying is nothing's ever free. Hey, first name, last name says hi, everybody. What's going on? What's up, first name, last name? So speaking of inflation, I was actually reading a lot of history on inflation all this week. And especially in today, reading about the hyperinflationary collapse in Weimar Germany, which unfortunately gave way to the rise of Adolf Hitler. And it just really reinforces the importance of a sound money system in a functioning society. Hey, watching from Taiwan. Nice to see you again, Tom. Hey, what's up, everybody from Taiwan? Hope you're well. Sending positive vibes there. Sabrina Ferris here says pretty. What's up, Sabrina? Yeah, these lights on these trees are really cool. Sort of looks like rain, I guess. I don't know what it's supposed to be, but it sort of looks like it. Hey, Felix is here. Says hello, Tom. Happy Sunday in Miami. War Walker says if you walk up any further, he'll encounter a lot of homeless people, unfortunately. Yeah, I guess every city has their downfalls for sure. Devon Avery says good evening. What's up, Devon Avery? Cat B says those are cool lights. What's going on, Cat B? And speaking of inflation, we were touching on this a little bit yesterday on the stream. But the Turkish lira has declined about 45% just last week versus the US dollar. So the Turkish lira is in a hyperinflationary collapse, I would say, versus the United States dollar. And it's really unfortunate for the people of Turkey because even though they're seeing this intense inflation right now, Turkey is actually pushing their central bank to actually cut interest rates even more, which is the exact opposite of what you should be doing. So basic economics will tell you anytime you're trying to battle inflation, it's probably best to actually raise interest rates instead of cutting them. Cutting interest rates provides stimulation to the economy when the economy is growing too slow to help spark capital investment and things like that. But when the economy is growing too fast, it's actually probably advantageous to raise interest rates. So I have no idea what the government in Turkey is thinking of actually cutting the rates again. So there's going to be riots and all types of crazy stuff coming very, very soon to Turkey, if not already. Hey, I see our good pal Paul Greenwell. What's up, Paul? Good to see you as always. Hope you're well. Okay, so I think this is the Paramount building. We were here yesterday on the stream. But good to see you, Paul. NJB says it's deliberate when it's appropriate for a Christmas tree, but I say anytime after Thanksgiving. Daniel G says, Tom, if you want to read about inflation in Argentina. There is a lot of information about what to do. Hey, I see Felix here. VS is Miami. What's up, VS? Diane says, beautiful 65 degrees. Tortellini says, when did you first get into Bitcoin? Right around when I was in college, so 2016, 2017. Hey, Smokey McPot. What's going on, Smokey McPot? Cat B says, what do you think about physical silver? Is it worth it? So I was actually just reading a pretty good piece of contrarian information to what I actually believe about silver. And the reason why silver hasn't really been used as a currency or as a backing of currency throughout history is because it's very easy to mine more silver and increase the supply. And it's actually very difficult to increase the supply substantially of gold. And that's why throughout history, many fiat currencies have been backed, or I should say many currencies have been backed by gold. Right, so there's never been a circumstance in a society where a fiat currency was just created without first being backed by some sort of precious metal. And then what usually tends to happen is countries will then go off a gold standard or a silver standard or something like that. And that is definitely not ideal. And we went off the gold standard in 1971. And ever since then, the United States dollar has lost about 90% of its purchasing power. But all fiat currencies throughout history have always gone to zero. So the Swan, good to see you. War Walker says that's your place to live, Tomcat. War Walker says lots of basketball players and celebrities are seen here as well. Hey, Jordan LeBeau says, hey, Tom, how goes it? What's up, Jordan? Marty Lewis is here. What's going on, Marty? Lucas, good to see you. Daniel G. 48 says, I have not put up my Christmas tree yet. Cat P. Devon Abry, good to see you. Sabrina Fair. Hey, QBiz says, good evening, Tom. I sent you an email after the live last night. So I did get the email and I will reply. And I am still in the process of making the Discord group so everybody can network in terms of investment banking jobs and software engineering jobs and even software sales jobs. So we'll definitely be doing that. Hey, Dante Rose is here. Says, hey, sorry I'm late. No problem. Square Bets is that where you saw the Bugatti yesterday? Indeed it is. Yeah, so I'm interested to see if anybody here, I know Daniel G from Buenos Aires, Argentina, is actually, well, obviously living it every single day with extreme inflation in Argentina. So what are some of the things that you guys do in your country as an inflationary hedge? So whenever you get paid, are you just exchanging that as fast as possible for a more stable currency like the Swiss franc? Or the yen or the US dollar? Or are you sort of exchanging that into commodities, or are you buying Bitcoin, or sort of what does that look like for you guys? Because that is really, really horrible. VS is Paramount Miami World Center. Hey, Dutchman is here, says Miami is full of Lamborghinis and Ferraris. What's going on, Tom? How are you? Hey, Giovanna says, Wall Street Skate Bro, I always watch your lives at random timing. Do you ever have specific time for your lives? Usually we don't. We usually try to go live around maybe anywhere between 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, but Ward Walker, I could have sworn I was looking on Google Maps and I just typed in Wynwood, Miami, and it told me just to walk straight up this road and to the left. But I guess not. I'll just take your word for it. So I guess we'll just go back to the Brickell today. Because after all, Ward Walker is the Miami native. Lost in the Curves is lots of dollars sent to foreign countries by relatives in U.S. to get them through tough times. Yeah, so that is what's considered remittance payments, and I believe that is another, which is definitely another very good use case for Bitcoin in general, is remittances. Because let's say, you know, you're from Argentina, but you move to the United States and you have to send money back home. That's going to cost you a lot if you use, you know, like Western Union or MoneyGram or something like that. But if you just send it and convert it with Bitcoin, it's probably going to cost you a lot less. Daniel G says, I change pesos into US dollars and buy stock at the NASDAQ, which is like converting pesos into US dollars. Very interesting. Tortellini says, would you say it's too late to invest in the Bitcoin? I wouldn't, but I cannot give out financial advice. But Tortellini, a good book to read, and I actually just picked it up again, is a book called The Bitcoin Standard. And The Bitcoin Standard is not a book that you would expect it to be about, right? The vast majority of the book is actually about the history of fiat currencies and the history of currency in general and money. It's a complete history of money going back to medieval times. Very, very interesting. There's an entire history of the bartering system we used to have, exchanging goods and services for other goods and services, and sort of explaining why it is important for societies to have sound money. Hey, Shot by Scott says, Tom, you're right, but it's a long 2-mile walk up and to the left into the heart of Wynwood. Not comfortable walk. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm so used to New York where you could just trek it anywhere. I mean, for me, 2 miles is nothing, but we'll do it a different day. Maybe when we have the skateboard. Hey, Katrina says 29th and to the left on 2nd or 5th will get you to the art action. Tortellini says, I remember having the opportunity to invest in Bitcoin back in 2007, but I didn't pull the trigger. Yeah, I think there's a lot of stories like that. NNB045 says, inflation hedge in Canada, Canadian banks stock away, pay steadily dividends. Only Western country with no bank failures in 2008 and 2009. So do you think that's enough to get you over the hurdle rate? I mean, what is the inflation rate there in Canada? Wynwood is west on your, if you're on Biscayne, 29th Street. Hey, Arsenal fan 13 says, hey, how's it going, Tom? It's going very well. Cool on 516, how are you? Got it. Yeah, maybe we'll do that a different day then. I gotta get a backpack, guys. My backpack broke. So both the straps on my backpack broke. So I'm forced to resort to using my suitcase, if you could see. And I used to have this shoulder strap on the suitcase. But then 2 days ago while we were streaming, the shoulder strap broke. So it's very cumbersome to carry around a suitcase and stream at the same time. Hey, Melee says, seems so quiet. Cat B says, I think we are at 6% here in Canada as well. Hey, New York City Rich. How are you, New York City Rich? Good to see you. Hey, Paul says my cat gave me the leg. Atomic Skittle says, when you stream in New York City next, could you walk around the meatpacking district? Indeed, we can. We absolutely can. Hey, Talvish is here. What's up, Talvish? Good to see you. Says, hey man, how are you tonight? I'm doing very well tonight, Talvish. We're talking about inflation, a little inflationary talk tonight. Daniel G says, in Argentina, we have 4 different prices for converting US dollars into pesos: government price, black market price, and 2 prices for operation in the local stock exchange. Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare, man. That's horrible. Inflation is just evil. Lucas says, this money system is good enough for healthy people. Take Me to the Sea says, it is a long walk. Going north for 29 blocks before you're turning left. Long walk, Tom. Yeah, for me, 29 blocks is nothing. I could bang that out in no time. But we'll do that another day. We'll walk around over here. Cat B says, inflation rate is 6% in Canada. The Mighty Bull is here, says, greetings from New York City. Happy holidays. Happy holidays, Mighty Bull. Good to see you. This place is kind of cool right here. Yeah, so every single hyperinflationary collapse that has ever happened throughout history has been due to government money printing. You know, if you expand the money supply, there's a direct correlation between stock to flow, right? So the higher the stock to flow ratio, the more sound the money. But if you have a low stock to flow ratio, you're just going to inflate all the purchasing power away. So central banking in general and money printing, if we think about the Federal Reserve, it really only goes to benefit the top 1%. Because the top 1% of people, they own the majority of the assets that are getting inflated, right? So if your hurdle rate, as I like to call it, let's say if the CPI print we got was like 6.4%, that was the CPI print. So everybody's hurdle rate just to stay above water is you need to be increasing your net worth at least 6.4% per year, or you're actually losing money, which is kind of crazy to think about. So Jerome Powell, the Federal Reserve, and all the 1%ers, they couldn't care less if you're printing money and devaluating the dollar by 6.4% a year, because that means assets are going to go up 20 or 30%. You just look at the S&P 500. Since the COVID lows, it's up 100%. But the problem with this is that creates wealth disparity, right? And it creates a 2-tier society, and that's not healthy over the long term, because what you're going to get is you're going to get a lot of angry people, and you're going to get riots, and you're going to get protests. And I think you're already starting to see that. And that's how you have so much wealth accrue to the top 1%. War Walker says this area has some sketchy people. Well, there's nobody sketchier than me. I can guarantee you that. There's nobody on this planet that's sketchier than me. So I think we're going to be all right. Square Bet says Jay Powell owns a lot of stocks. Yeah, I mean, it's all insider trading. So a lot of these Fed presidents have actually stepped down after they were caught insider trading, because essentially all of the assets that the central bank has to purchase, what these Fed presidents were doing is actually purchasing the assets first and then buying them to stimulate the economy. So they were essentially front-running their own stimulus, which was a little bit unethical in my opinion. Hey, Ron says, good evening, Tom. What's up, Ron? Good to see you. Kitchen Lab says, hello there, Tom. I always joke about this with my friends when they say, because there's a big crime wave that's sweeping over New York right now, big. And my friends say, oh, I'm never going to wear anything nice. But for me, I don't wear any watches. The only thing that I walk around with is a suitcase full of newspapers. And criminals aren't interested in education. Criminals aren't interested in actually doing real work and reading. So they would just open the suitcase and probably catch a cold and be like, I don't want any of that. You just have newspapers. You just have the Wall Street Journal. I'm not interested in that. So it's sort of like I have a repellent. I have crime repellent on me, which is pretty good. Cat Beast is 6% inflation equals 20% tax increase. Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it, let's say if you're a country and you're increasing your money supply about 15% a year, and that may not sound like a lot, 15% a year, but I believe that means you're going to double the money supply in under 10 years, which is horrible. Yeah, Maria O says, I know, Tom, New York City has been insane lately in crime. Yeah, but I'm optimistic about the new mayor. I'm really, really optimistic. I think he's going to clean up New York very, very well. Faith, I see you. What's up, Faith? Good to have you here, as always. Sabrina Fair, how are you? Hey, Rob Hill, what's going on? Guillermo says, is inflation coming or what? I think it's already here. I think it's already here, and I think we're actually going to get hit with an even bigger wave of inflation coming up very soon due to all the money printing. Hey, Deja Vu says, I won on FanDuel today. Well, congratulations. That's awesome. Wow, this place is so cool. I wish I went to school here. This is the Financial Technology and Trading Lab. I'd be in here all day. So let's see what the ticker tape says. I'll give you guys some live updated stock quotes right now. Hey, Gene is here. Says, Wall Street Skate Bro, you're in my college, Tom. And my dad was a Fed marshal at the courthouse you just passed. Wow, that's awesome, man. Well, thank you, Dad, for his service. That's awesome. The Mighty Bull says they need to be persecuted and sent to jail like an average citizen. Tortellini says, I bet Tom knows how to throw hands. I don't do any of that fighting stuff. If somebody wants to take it, just take it, man. I'm not interested in it. Paul Kramer says, why are you to the government? This is Paul Kramer. Not sure what that means. Hey, Penelope's here. What's up, Penelope? Says, it's a kitty blowing a kiss to the swan. Penelope is our good friend from Tennessee. Hey, Tom, is Miami a good market for cash flow rental properties? So I believe any market is a good market for cash flow rental properties. It just depends on how well you do due diligence on your deal. There's a lot of terrible deals in a lot of markets, and there's a lot of good deals in a lot of markets. It's all about how you structure the deal and do your due diligence. So I think there's opportunity in a lot of places, in my opinion. Hey, Fred T says, I hope the Build Back worst bill fails. That is pure socialism, says Fred T. Yeah, so Fred T, a lot of people were comparing this new Build Back Better deal to the New Deal, sort of like a New Deal era. So we'll see how that plays out. But it's very difficult to create wealth with money printing. Very, very difficult, if not impossible. So I believe the terminology is Keynesian economics, right? So you can, and John Maynard Keynes. I actually studied him a lot in college when I studied economics. If you guys want to read his book, if you just Google John Maynard Keynes, there's probably one of the most famous economics books ever written. Hey, Deja Vu says, crypto thoughts, time to buy is now, says Deja Vu. So Deja Vu, I wrote about that in my newsletter, my free financial newsletter, Behind the Street. We had a pretty big sell-off this week in the price of Bitcoin. But if we notice, it actually came right down to its 200-day moving average, which I think is pretty normal. And I would probably go out on a limb to say this market has bottomed, in my view. I think when you see these drastic moves to the downside, it's usually caused by market participants over leveraging, or what it's called trading on margin. So there's a lot of liquidation. So a lot of people, there was billions of dollars in liquidations, or multi-millions of dollars in liquidations over the weekend, which sort of flushes out a lot of this speculation in the market, which I think overall is a good thing. So we are here at the Miami-Dade College campus. I've never even heard of this college before, but it's beautiful. I mean, I sort of wish I went here. I'd be at that business center almost every day. It's beautiful here. Really, really nice campus. Hey, Andy is here. Says it's nice to listen and stock market from you. Like learning something new, says Andy. Paul Kramer says they would rather settle for some ID. David says bailing out banks is socialism, says David Goldstein. I agree with you, David. Square Bet says Tom, B of A analysts are bearish on stocks through 2022. Do you agree? I think it depends on a few factors. I personally am bullish on stocks in 2022 because, in my view, I think the Federal Reserve is going to continue to expand its balance sheet. So I think a very good resource that everybody should take a look at is the Fed's balance sheet. And it's actually readily available for anybody to take a look at for free on their website. And I think I actually programmed it into the Nightbot so you guys could take a look at it. But it's very important to watch the Federal Reserve's balance sheet. And the reason for that is because there is a direct correlation between the increase of the Federal Reserve's balance sheet and equities prices. So there's a direct correlation between the expansion of the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve and the prices or the trajectory of equities or stocks over the course of the year. So if you do a quick Google search and you just Google Federal Reserve's balance sheet, you'll see a very cartoonishly ridiculously looking chart that pretty much just looks like a hockey stick. And if we can understand that the chart of the Federal Reserve's balance sheet looks like a hockey stick, well, now we understand why equities prices have been on a rip-roaring rally all year. Penelope says, but do they have a free Bloomberg terminal at that library? ... No. I mean, I would assume in a business center in a college they may have that, but I'm not sure. But I never knew this college even existed, but it's unbelievable campus. I really, really like it. Very beautiful. I'm actually gonna, you know what? Maybe I'll do some research to see if I can go back. I would probably go to school there, you know, get another degree. Looks like a great place. So here's the Metro Mover, I believe. Sabrina says, Tom, I don't know what you just said, but you sound great. I appreciate that, Sabrina. Thank you so much. Lucas says, yeah, it's much to learn, Tom. I like you. You know that. Appreciate it, Lucas. Thank you for the kind words. Hey, Elizabeth's here. Says, hi, Tom. Hope all is well. Oh, all is very well. Hope the same to you. Andy says, great, Tom. By the way, I subscribed to your newsletter. Very cool. Yeah, so that should be going out at midnight tonight. I believe it's on a timer where it automatically goes out every Sunday. Well, I guess I should say Monday at midnight, technically. Zebra Sparkle says, good evening. Good to see you. Ooh, look at these huskies. Well, at least I think one of them is a husky, right? What are those two dogs? Cat B says, why does silver always get reevaluated when it starts to go up in value? Seems undervalued because of that. Well, I think they're in the precious metals market, and I think to some extent, I'm not going to put a lot of weighting on it, but I think to some extent, that due to the derivatives market in precious metals, right, or the paper as they call it, I think there's a lot of price suppression of precious metals, especially physical silver, in my view. And I believe just recently JP Morgan had to pay another fine of manipulating the metals market, specifically in silver. And they do this by what's called spoofing schemes. Spoofing schemes. So Deutsche Bank does it a lot. BNP Paribas we talk about, which is a French investment bank. They do these spoofing schemes where they manipulate the price of the metal, let's say on a Monday, $10 lower, and then they put leveraged, extremely high leverage bets, leveraged long bets to the upside. And then when they release all of their orders, which is called spoofing, they'll make an egregious amount of money. But then they pay fines, but that's all really baked into their business practice. But there hasn't been many conclusive studies to say that the big investment banks spoofing the market like that is creating any sort of real market manipulation that would suppress the price of silver drastically. In my opinion, I do think it does suppress the price of silver and other precious metals drastically, but there is not a lot of conclusive evidence to say that is the case. You really do that by flooding the open market with paper derivative, or paper silver as it's called. I'll read the comments in just 1 second, everybody. Hey, Carolina Tom says, good to hang out with you tonight, buddy. Thank you, Carolina Tom. I hope you're well. Hope you had a good weekend, everybody. SD Rob says, I don't see no art. Yeah, well, we were going to walk to Wynwood, but I guess the Miami natives in the chat says it's way too far. So I appreciate you tipping me off about that. So maybe we'll see some art down here. Take me to see says, I feel better now that Tom has turned east. Gene says, Wall Street Skate Bro, how cool that people move going through that building. I agree, very cool. Cool on 516 says, JP Morgan came to a settlement for the spoofing, but I keep finding different amounts that they have to pay. Yeah, cool aunt. So they do this every year, right? So the Commodities Exchange or the SEC, all they do is they just fine them like $100 million. But usually what happens is, and I think it's very, very unethical in my opinion, you know, all the commodities traders, I'm not going to say all of them, but many commodities traders at these big investment banks, you know, they get together with their managing directors or whatever, and they do the calculation of how much money they can make by these spoofing schemes. And if that amount is, let's say, you know, $200 million, let's say, all right, this year we can make $200 million, which is a lot more, it's in the billions. If they say we can make $2 billion this year by rigging the metals market and manipulating it via the derivatives market, and if we only have to pay a $100 million fine, well, then that's good business, right? You know, $2 billion to pay a fine from the SEC for only $100 million, you know, I'd take that trade all day. Now, I'm not saying that I would personally do that, because I wouldn't. I would never do that. I think it's unethical, but, you know, these bankers, a lot of them, not all of them, you know, if it's within the ramifications that they'll never go to jail, they'll do it. So I actually think, and I've been an advocate for this for a long time, that I think there should be criminal convictions for manipulating and spoofing any sort of market, in my view. Hey, NJB, what's going on, NJB? Helen is here. Paul says, my nurse caught me Horatio Snipes, how are you? Good to see you. I got my chat all messed up here. Hold on. Lily says hi, just got on. What's up, Lily? Good to see you. Hey, Dwayne, how are you? Deja Vu says absolutely. David Jones says, do you know what Alibaba is? They are always in the business news. Yes, Alibaba is a Chinese tech company, big in e-commerce. The founder is Jack Ma. I actually just blew out my entire position of that. Hey, Lupe is here. What's up, Lupe? Good to see you. Hope you're well. Me says, Tom, will the downtrend of Tesla and QQQ and VIX end tomorrow? By the way, spoofing has been occurring way before you were born. Well, of course, yeah, I understand that. Me, absolutely understand that. But I don't know if it'll end tomorrow. I'm not sure. I'm not sure it'll end tomorrow. Dwayne says, these people seem... All right, let me catch up on the comments here, guys. It's just very difficult. Ian says, I just bought your BABA shares. Let's see. Yeah, so Ian, I got out of my position in Alibaba, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, for tax loss selling. So usually at the end of the year, I look at my portfolio and all the major positions that I'm down on, I usually blow them out, and I usually take the equal amount of profit on my winning positions and then just hold tight on my winners, so I negate the taxes. Maria O says, Tom, it happened to my dad. Walked into an unnamed bank, was deposited some cash, and he was convinced to invest in a specific stock and lost it all. Nothing better he could do, says Maria O. Very strange. Dwayne says, I think these people get off the hook so easily. I think so too. You know, white collar crime is very rarely punishable by jail time. Seven says, is there still money to be made with the Dow? So the Dow Jones Industrial Average is just it's an index made up of 30 specific stocks, right? So usually the Dow is not the greatest indicator of market strength or overall breadth of the market, as they call it, breadth. A better indicator to look at is the S&P 500, or even more specifically now, the NASDAQ is a lot better to look at. And I think the financial media tends to focus very heavily on the Dow, because if the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 500 points, you know, I think that makes a better headline than, you know, the S&P 500 was up 15 points today, right? But the Dow is probably going to close in on 40,000. So a 500-point move in the Dow is not really anything to balk about, but it just sounds good for a headline. But really nobody follows the Dow Jones very closely anymore, because it's only an index of 30 stocks. It's only an index of 30 stocks. Hey, Tricky Ricky says, what does this have to do with Miami? Is South Beach far? Ricky Ticky says, what does this have to do with Miami? Well, we're in Miami. Marilyn Ringles, hello Marilyn, hope you're well, says, hello, hit the like button. Only invest with what you are comfortable with. Some finance people are like some really bad used car salespeople. Don't get drawn into crazy administrative fees. Marilyn Ringle, I think you hit the nose right on the head there. And that's why really pioneers in the industry like a Jack Bogle or John Bogle, which he is actually, well, was, he unfortunately passed away, but the creator and founder of Vanguard. And he's the one who's been exposing the mutual fund industry on Wall Street for years. Because back in the day, the mutual fund industry would charge, and they still do, charge egregious fees. A front-end load fee and a back-end load fee. Sometimes these are 5%, and also a 2% management fee every year, regardless of if you make money or not. So definitely agree But good to see you, Marilyn, as always. Ricky Ticky, good to see you as always. Thank you for joining. Hello from Russia. Welcome everybody from Russia. Good to see you. Russia's in the house. Lupe is our good moderator. Good to see you, Lupe. Aristocrat says, what's the temperature? It was about 78 degrees. About 78 degrees today. It was very beautiful. Cool on 516 is most of the money is in no load funds. Yeah, so I think that's because of pioneers like Jack Bogle, right? So the status quo in the mutual fund industry was to charge egregious fees. But ever since Bogle and a couple others came out against those fees, that has forced prices to come down significantly, especially in the mutual fund industry. It's forced prices to come down significantly, which is very good. I couldn't even imagine paying 5% every time I wanted to buy in to a mutual fund. I can't believe people did that back in the day, but that's how it used to work, which is crazy. Ricky Ticky says, is Miami humid? Yeah, so Miami is quite humid, but nowadays, usually in the winter months, it's a lot less humid. It's pretty moderate. It's actually pretty nice. Ricky says, well, I have to bathe 2 times a day because of the humidity. I think in the summer you may have to. Hello from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Welcome everybody from Brazil. Renee says, hello, beautiful night. Faith, how are you? Sabrina says, it is challenging for an individual investor to even manage a 401k. Hidden fees are rough. Yeah, so I think that's very important. If you are investing in a 401k with your employer, I think it's very important to understand what you're actually invested in. I think the vast majority of people are just buying into their 401ks and they really don't even know what they're investing in. And oftentimes that's horrible because the investments within your 401k can be pretty egregious with the fees. So I think if you do have a 401k, you should probably sit down and do a deep dive and really understand what the investments are in your 401k. You know, what are the management fees? Are you invested into an index fund? Are you invested into a very high cost mutual fund? I think it's very important to really sit down and sort of hammer that out. Because even if you can lower your fees 1%, you know, by the time you retire, let's say you have a nest egg of $12 million, if you save yourself 1%, that's a significant amount of money every year. But usually in a traditional 401k, you will probably see what's called a target date fund. So it'll say something like target date 2030, target date 2040. And really all that means in a general sense is that the closer you are to retirement, the allocation of stocks to bonds, the ratio of stocks to bonds will shift more in favor oftentimes to bonds as you get closer to retirement, mainly to reduce portfolio volatility and to get you towards a fixed income strategy as you near retirement. But let's say if you just applied to the company and you got hired and you're 20 years old, you'll probably have a significant amount of your 401k weighted towards equities as opposed to bonds. That's really the only thing that the target date funds mean. Sabrina Ferris says, Tom, did you just say a nest egg of $12 million? Yeah, I mean, so that's just an example. I'm talking about any number. I mean, let's say if you're 80 years old, you have 12 million in your 401k, or let's say you're 80 years old and you have 500,000 in your 401k. As long as you can get rid of those fees and reduce them as much as possible, I think that's going to be good. I think that's going to be really good. Ricky Ticky says, is it true that the snakes come out of your toilet in Florida? That is true. Cool Aunt 516 says, I wish I knew then what I know now when I was 20. Yeah, I think a lot of people do. I think you're right. Cool Aunt 516 says, my 401k is diversified all over the place in index funds. That's good. War Walker says, I think you can catch the number 3 bus from First Street. I think so too. I think the number 3 bus goes right down First Street and then loops all the way up US Highway 1, I believe. Hey, CB Earth Day, good to see you as always. Penelope, good to see you. Cat B, good to see you. NNB045 says, not really finance related, but anyone undecided on a career should consider working in 3PL and logistics. A lot of great things to learn in 3PL. I actually agree with you a lot. I really, really do agree with you. Especially being that our supply chain is so badly broken. I think that's a very good assumption there. Hey, CB Earth Day says, good evening, Tom. Good to see you. Good to see you too. Lost in the Curve says, gators in the pool, snakes in the toilet. You know what? I was actually reading a crazy article 2 weeks ago, how in Hollywood, Florida, which is a little bit north of North Miami Beach, the iguanas are actually coming out of the toilets. Isn't that insane? Tell me that's not insane. DN says, a person can save a lot by living within your means and avoiding debt, says DN. Agreed on that. So let's see if we can cross the street here without getting knocked off. We'll see. Sabrina Ferris is one of my best friends, just told me she bought a condo at the Trump Hollywood in Miami. Is that nice? That is really nice. So I think the only Trump buildings that I'm familiar with here is in Sunny Isles Beach, Florida. I'm not too familiar with the ones in Hollywood, but I would assume they're really nice. That's awesome. Hey, Take Me to the Sea says, gators on the golf courses, of course. Hey, if anybody's familiar with Normandy Isles or Normandy Shores, is there any alligators on that island, Normandy Shores, near the golf course, or no? Hey, Jetstar, good to see ya. What's up, Jetstar? Ricky Ticky says, I golf, so I hope I won't find a gator and an anaconda. Well, we don't have any anacondas here. Renee says it's pretty busy here for a Sunday night. So usually downtown, so one of the things I noticed about downtown Miami, it's always busy, but there's really no pedestrian traffic because everybody drives here. So it's very different than New York. In New York City, everybody walks. But here, everybody drives. So you really won't see many pedestrians out. Hey, Ren1018 says, what's the property tax rate in Florida? So Ren1018, good to see you. Happy Sunday. I believe it depends on this local municipality that you're in. And I believe it goes by a millage rate. It's called your millage rate. But just for context, I believe my property taxes are around $4,300 a year. Anywhere from 43 to 48, I believe, are my property taxes. Just to give you a little bit of a gauge there. But if you buy a property in Florida, what you have to do is you have to go to your local town or your local city within Florida, and I believe they post the millage rate, and that dictates what your taxes are for the year. Ricky Ticky says, I heard there's no state tax in Miami. Yeah, there's no state tax in Florida, so State taxes goes by state level, not city. But you're right. Yeah, there's no state taxes for income in Florida. Hey, George is here. What's up, George? Good to see you. Ian, good to see you. So this is the Wells Fargo Center. Hey, QBiz says, hey, Tom, I sent you an email after last night's live stream. Yes, QBiz, I did get the email, and I'm working on the Discord group, and I'm going to look into your question, and I will get back to you as soon as possible, I promise. Renee says, lived in Miami for years, never heard of such a thing. Jean says, thank you, that never happened to me or anybody I know. The toilet thing, but I did hear about the iguanas. There was an iguana that actually, they're breaking into the sewage pipes in Hollywood, Florida. So if you look to the left, this is the Aston Martin building here in downtown Miami. So the Aston Martin residences at 300 Biscayne Boulevard Way. So it's funny, you're gonna have the Aston Martin building. You're going to have, well, you already do have the Porsche Design Tower. And then in Sunny Isles Beach, Florida, they're actually building the Bentley building, which is really crazy. So let's see if it comes out well on the stream. And this building is the Aston Martin building. Lily says, now I need to look up toilets in Miami. Funny. Hey, Glenn Daly says, hey Tom, great images of another part of the world there in Miami. It's summer here in New Zealand. New York seemed like it was more decorated for the festive season. What's up, Glenn Daly? Good to see you. Yeah, New York really blows it out for the holidays, for sure. 48 says, I love Miami. VS is Rolls-Royce SUV. Yeah, there's always a lot of nice cars here in Southern Florida for some reason. Hey, Cat B says, I'd latch those seats down. Renee Image says, please tell me no car property taxes. Running at altitudes as property assessed value is about to go up in 2022, pay more taxes. Yeah, I mean, there's only two things that are guaranteed in this life, and that's death and taxes. But there's people on my block that are paying like $800 a year on their property taxes. And that's because they've purchased their homes so long ago, like in the 50s. But me, since I just purchased the property, I have to pay almost $4,300 a year in taxes, which is crazy, but coming from New York City and coming from Long Island, it's actually not that bad. Let's put it into perspective. If you buy a $500,000 house on Long Island, you're probably going to be paying over $10,000 a year in property taxes, probably anywhere between $10,000 and $13,000 a year, just for a regular single-family home on Long Island. I think this is one of those Lamborghini SUVs, I believe. Yeah, Sabrina Fair says that's still a high tax rate, Tom. It's really high. It's really, really high. Taxes are definitely not fun. Hey, Lena Sandoval is here. Says, hello, Tom and everybody. How are you doing? I'm doing very well, Lena. Hey, George F says, the locals cannot afford the rent in those buildings. Yep, so Miami's rent, I actually think, has gone up even more than New York City, surprisingly. Wow, Ren1018 says, I pay $15,000 a year in property taxes. Ren10, if you could let us know where you are. Where are you located? QBiz says, Tom, I can't. wait for the Aston Martin to be open just for the looks of it at night. Yeah, I agree too. That's gonna be awesome. Chris says, how are your property taxes paid, monthly, quarterly, or yearly? So I believe it's built into my, for now, I believe I had to pay 1 year of taxes up front, right? Because I just purchased the property. But I believe it's going to be paid in an escrow account. But I believe once I pay off the mortgage, I could just pay the property taxes in one lump sum at the end of the year. But another thing that I do have to do is I have to register for the homestead tax exemption. So I have to do that, I think, before January 13th, I believe. So I'm gonna have to get on that as fast as possible. Masad says, how many times do you think the Fed will raise interest rates next year? So I don't think they're going to raise them any. I don't think they're going to raise it at all. I think they're just going to talk about it. But I guess we'll have to adjust our portfolios when the time comes. But I think the market is actually already front running or pricing in 2 interest rate hikes. And the reason why I think this is because all last week we had growth stocks selling off really, really hard. What's up, Jet Life? Good to see you. Ian says, visit Malta, no property taxes. Ren 1018 says, my sister-in-law pays $35,000 a year in property tax, but they live on a huge property in a very expensive area. See, to me, that's crazy. I don't think I could ever justify paying that amount in taxes. I just could never justify it. Cat B says, how much do you get exempted for homestead? So Cat B, I believe the homestead exemption will give me $50,000 deducted from the home. Have probably misunderstood how much their property taxes are. It has nothing to do with when you bought your house. So isn't it the value? So how does that work then? Because I thought it's like your tax assessed value. Because there's some of my neighbors that are paying a little bit under $1,000 a month for their property taxes. Because automatically, I think once the house is sold, the assessment automatically goes up. Automatically. Or automatically is a new assessment. So if anybody wants to shine some light on that, please do, because I'm actually very interested. Running at altitudes is your property taxes are calculated by multiplying the mill, leverage, or tax rate by the assessed or taxable value of your property. Yeah, so running at altitude, that's right. So my tax assessment on my house, and then multiply that by my millage rate. But there's some of these homes in southern Florida that probably haven't gotten a tax assessment in years. And so that's probably why they're paying such extreme low property taxes. Lost in the Curve says taxes are assessed by schools and other taxing authorities as well. This is Lost in the Curve. Alan Wilson says, Tom, the Homestead Act freezes the value of your property at the value it was when you applied for the exemption. This is Alan Wilson. And I believe you also have to obviously mark it as your primary residence. So it can't be like a rental property, it can't be a second home or like a vacation home. It does have to be your primary residence as well. So we'll walk under here because these things are really cool. Sometimes they have faces on them. Well, all the time they do, but you can see it. And then I'll put the bag down so I can read the comments. Today I haven't been reading many comments because the strap on my suitcase broke. So I have to hold my bag in one hand, and so I can't really scroll through the comments. It's difficult. Hello from Las Vegas. Love your streams. I have an IRA. And heard that the amount doubles every 10 years. Is that true? No, it is not true. I think what you're referring to is whatever sort of investment that you have in your IRA could potentially double your money every 10 years. So let's say if you are dollar cost averaging into an S&P 500 index fund within your IRA, but an IRA is a protective investment vehicle. Right, so an IRA is a form of retirement account, and you could have a Roth IRA. Excuse me. You could have a Roth IRA or a conventional or standard. It just all depends. Usually, it all depends on what your target date is for your retirement. In terms of tax liability reasons, do you want to pay taxes now and then have your investments grow tax-free? Right. Which would be a Roth. So if you put money in a Roth IRA, any growth or capital appreciation on the value of the funds within that account, they will grow tax-free until retirement. And then you can pull them out, or the value of that, out of your IRA, and you don't have to pay any taxes. This is a really nice area here. Ricky Ticky says, what do you do for a living? I am in tech sales. I work in tech. Faye says, did you pass Brickell Heights? I'm not sure about that. In Los Angeles, the property tax is 1.25% of the property value. This is Masad. Shua Rock says, wow. Hey, George Lopez, how are you? The Mighty Bull says, watching, listening, and reading. This is a pretty cool place down here. Hey, Jasmine P says, have you been to Tampa? So, Jasmine, I've not been to Tampa, but I would really like to go visit. Everybody's been telling me I have to check out Tampa, Florida, so I definitely would like to visit. Ricky says, oh, I thought did Bitcoin for a living. What does that mean, doing Bitcoin for a living? I don't know what does that mean? Yeah, Disney cast members says I never got used to Christmas in Florida. Yeah, because I mean it's 80 degrees out and then you see all these Christmas lights. It looks beautiful, but it is a little strange for sure. But Jasmine P, hope you're well. Shua Rock, good to see you. Alan says, absolutely. And you have to spend a certain number of days there each year to prove it if required, says Alan. Yeah, so Alan, you're 100% right. And the majority of the people who get audited for that kind of thing are like the billionaires and multi-millionaires that usually buy property here as like tax avoidance. So actually you'll probably have some people come knocking on your door to make sure you're actually living here full time. But to a person, if you're making less than like $500,000 a year, nobody's probably going to say anything to you. But you're 100% right on that, Alan. Shauna Rock says, I remember this, nice. Yeah, it is definitely nice here. So I used to work right across from the Cipriani on Wall Street. near the Deutsche Bank a couple of years ago. Yeah, cool on 516 is you have to be there for at least 6 months to be considered a resident for the homestead exemption. Hey, Jeans, this creepy looking ritual mask hotel Tom is near now. Yeah, a little weird. But this place is beautiful. QBiz says there's a nice restaurant over by you, Tom, where you can sit on the patio and enjoy Miami River and Biscayne Bay. Let's see if we see any fish tonight. George F says, what is the name of that restaurant? I believe it was the Cipriani. Penelope says, go to St. Petersburg, Florida and visit the Salvador Dali Museum for me. We'll have to do that, Penelope. George Lopez says, perfect spot to drink a cup of coffee. I agree 100%. Warwalker says, jump in. So this is the Aston Martin building again, everybody, right here. Diane Van says, I was offered Bitcoin for the purchase of an item I had for sale. I had no idea how to value it. I probably would have taken it. Hey, the Muddy Lions family Thomas says, hey, how are you? George F, good to see you. Andy says, nice view indeed. Sabrina Fair says, I spent Christmas in Maui one year. I couldn't get used to Santa on a surfboard. Funny. Yeah, Maria O says, people with money, it appears to be here. Cool on 516 is in a traditional IRA, you can conduct your contribution on your federal taxes every year. Very good point. Cat B says, we don't pay capital gains on our primary residence. So I believe if it's your first property you've bought and it's your primary residence, I believe it is tax exempt up to the first $250,000 worth of profit on your home. I believe that's what it is. Hey, Victor Kripp, how are you? This is nice view. Good to see you, Victor. Take Me to the Sea says, how do you pay taxes on Bitcoin with more Bitcoin? Could you clarify what you mean? So, I mean, let's say if you buy Bitcoin and then you sell it for a profit, you do have to pay taxes. You have to pay capital gains taxes on that. I think the only caveat is, do you pay long-term gains? And long-term capital gains is usually what you want to try to strive for, right? You don't want to be paying short-term capital gains where the government's taking about 50% of what you make. But for me, I use, and a lot of people who've been watching the stream for a long time know that I use Bitcoin as an inflation hedge. So I dollar cost average into Bitcoin, and I'll never sell it with money that, you know, I don't need right now, and I just will hold it for the remainder of my life. Ren10 says, Tom, make any sells or buys recently with stocks? Yeah, a lot. So I've been doing my portfolio rebalancing, which I tend to do towards the end of the year for tax reasons. So for tax loss selling, I blew out all of my position in Alibaba, and I was forced out of the market on the majority of my Atlassian stake, ticker symbol TEAM, which we did good. So we're going to have to pay a mighty tax bill this year, but that's life, everybody. That's life. Yeah, somebody says you have to pay taxes in crypto. Really? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. TL says take losses prior to year end to offset gains, but be careful of the wash sale rule. This is TL. Agreed. And that's why I think a lot of the price action that we're seeing in a lot of these names, and I've been writing about it in my newsletter, Behind the Street newsletter. If you want to sign up, link in the description. It's a free financial newsletter that I write every week to discuss a lot of the financial markets and the volatility that we've been seeing. Tend to get really pounded and hammered into the ground towards the end of the year, because portfolio managers tend to sell their losers to offset their tax liability for their winners, as it's called, tax loss selling. Well, this is beautiful here looking at this, everybody. Hey, Deep Value Tom Lee says, hey Tom, did you sell your Alibaba? I did. I sold all of my position in Alibaba for tax loss selling last week. So I do not own any Chinese equities. I do not have any. TL says the IRS needs more money to fund our insane government spending. Geez, TL, I think you're right. A little bit depressing there, but I agree. Andy says it's peaceful here. It really is. Asparagus Aquarius says that was amazing, astonishing. Hey, Nathaniel Williams is our pal that is tuning in from Iowa. So Nathaniel, thank you for joining. We are here in downtown Miami. We actually just walked over the bridge here to the Brickell. So this is the bridge we walked over, everybody. Hey, I see William Creech here. William Creech here. How are you? Ren 10 says, Tom, the best trade I made was buying Nvidia at $17 in 2014 and never sold. Ren 10, God bless you, my friend. That is phenomenal. Victor Cripps says, this world is crazy. Deep Value Tom Lee, how are you? Face is loving the view and enjoying no work. Really relaxing vibe. Agreed. Nathaniel Williams says, I miss Miami. Just got my Class A CDL. I'm saving up to move down there in the next few years. Awesome. Nathaniel, I think you're going to love it. Let's check out this boat and then we'll continue to walk. TL says, is anybody here bold enough to buy Alibaba with the delisting concerns? I mean, for me, I usually only buy, the way I trade is I'm a can slim disciple. So if you want to know my style of investment, it's pretty much just Investors Business Daily can slim. So usually I don't buy stocks in a downtrend. And that was actually one of the biggest rules that William J. O'Neill ever said, was don't buy Chinese equities. And I did fall into that trap because there's so much innovation in China, and it's really upsetting, really upsetting that the CCP is really stifling the growth and innovation in China. It's really horrible. You know, I've always said, and a lot of my friends speculate, that the Chinese could easily overtake the United States in terms of innovation in artificial intelligence and machine learning, just based upon the amount of data they have alone. But they will never do that so long as the Communist Chinese Party rules in China. They will never do that as long as communism is there. Hey, Solius says, hi Tom, everybody, good to see you. Long time no see, Soli, hope you're well. Check out these palm trees lit up on the top of this building. Pretty cool. Natando says, hello from South Africa. What's going on, Natando? Good to see you. How's everything in South Africa? Sabrina Fair says, Tom, completely disagree. They don't reverse engineer. They don't innovate. Yeah, so Sabrina Fair, that was actually very true way back in the tech and telecom boom. Right, so during the tech and telecom boom, it was always called the Chinese copycats, the Chinese knockoffs. And there's actually an amazing book out there. And Sabrina, I'm going to recommend it to you. It's a great book. You would love this book. It's called AI Superpowers by Kaifu Lee. And Kaifu Lee was the former president of Google China. So he was in charge of all the Chinese operations in all of Google's operations in China during the tech and telecom boom. And he will tell you that the main thing in China during that time is that they would just rip off US and British companies. But now, after extreme investment into their infrastructure in China, what you're seeing is actual real viable companies with their proprietary IP coming out of China. So Kaifu Lee now has his own venture capital firm. Well, check this out. So Kaifu Lee now manages his own venture capital firm called Sinovation Ventures. Sinovation Ventures, and they only invest into Chinese-based learning companies. But that is 100% true, that back in the day, it was always considered the Chinese copycats. So the Chinese would always, knock off and try to steal the source code of American, Japanese, Korean, and British tech companies. That is very true. Hey, photos from around New York says Miami International. Hey, Justin's Journey's here. What's up, Justin's Journey? I'm gonna have a sit down here real quick and catch up on some of the comments. Hey, Orlando Silva says Airbus A380 to London. TL says Boeing took a massive haircut. Hey, Ed Dunkel, good to see you. Yeah, Coolon 516 says China pushes a lot of STEM now. Indeed. Bob Lewis says, hi, what's your address for the newsletter? So Bob Lewis, I believe if you look in the description of this video, there is a link that should take you to my newsletter. All you have to do is type in your email and then you'll get it. Take me to the sea, says Tom, you have to go to the Christmas boat parade. Check your local paper. I will. I've never heard of that, so I'm gonna have to check it out for sure. Yeah, this is a very unique area. I don't think we've ever been down here on this stream before. Hey, Irevis is here, says hello, Tom. What's up, Irevis? Good to see you. Faith, how are you? Shot by Scott says you're doing an AK move there. What's up, Scott? Victor's this beautiful view. Photos from around New York, good to see you. George F says Miami is beautiful but is sinking. Yeah, so George, we actually had that discussion yesterday, and I think the same can be said about all coastal cities in the United States, especially San Francisco. There was actually a today saying that San Francisco is quite literally built on landfill. So the bay, they literally just dumped a bunch of dirt in the bay and started building buildings and hospitals on top of it. So it's actually quite literally sinking. Ian says, will oil trade at $100 in 2022? I think so. I think we are still in a bullish cycle for oil. I think inflation is going to ramp into 2022. I think the Federal Reserve's balance sheet will continue to expand. And I think this dip in oil will be bought up. That is my view. Hey, Gene says, Tom, good night. Thank you for another awesome stream. Gene, right back at you. I appreciate it. Giovanna, how are you? Shot by Scott says, have you walked to Brickell Key yet? I don't think so. Not yet. Wow, this boat is massive. I think we saw a bigger one, though, a couple days ago. Sabrina Ferris says, Tom, it's the Marina District in San Francisco that was built in landfill. That's why it got hit hard during the last big earthquake. Dan Russell says, Miami sinking will not be of concern for 1,000 years. Yeah, I tend to think it's a lot of talk. And I mean, look, the way I think about it is if Miami's going to be underwater, I can guarantee you with conclusivity that New York will also be underwater. that Boston will also be underwater, and pretty much any place that's desirable to live in the United States will be underwater. Major cities is where people want to be. People want to live in New York. People want to live in Miami. People want to live in San Francisco, right? So all the places that are fun and interesting to live, everybody says is going to be underwater. So when it goes underwater, all right, I'll move to the mountains somewhere and I'll have a good day over there. But until that happens, I guess I'll just sort of hang around here. Look, I love Long Island, New York. That's where I was born. That's where I was raised. I love New York. So if it's going to be underwater, then, you know, I'll go to Montana and live in a mountain or something. Ed Dunkel says downtown LA is safe. TL says Montana. Interesting. Flex Stream says Denver will be underwater in 5 million years. Yeah, Take Me to Sea says Florida sits on limestone rock. Water goes straight through. Watermarks have been the same for the last hundreds of years on pillings, seawalls, and bridge markers. Interesting. Hey, Quant, what's going on? Says when Montana stream. What's up, Quant? It's good to see you here. Good to see everybody. We got a full house tonight, so I hope everybody's having a great Sunday. TL, always good to see you. Quant, good to see you. Sabrina Fair, Justin's Journey, hope you're well. Penelope says mountains here in Tennessee, Tom, and lots of water. I actually enjoyed Tennessee a lot when I was there. So this is back in the day when and as you know, there's a massive AT&T headquarters in downtown Nashville, Tennessee. And I was supposed to fly in there for a day to have a couple meetings and then fly back. But right when I touched down in Nashville, they called off the meeting. So I just went to Vanderbilt University and was just walking around, and I had a great time. The Vanderbilt University is fantastic. That place, I've never seen anything like it in my life. Vanderbilt University, it was a great time. I had a really, really good time there. Hey, Daniel G says all coastal cities will be underwater in the next century. So what's the problem? This is Daniel G. Yeah, Vanderbilt was a good time. Vandy was a good time. Hey, Carol H says, hi there, Tom. Looks beautiful. I used to live close by in Brickell Key. What's up, Carol? Good to see you. Hope you had a good weekend, Carol. Carol, it seems like I always stream by your old residences. I believe you used to live right across the street from Macy's, too. So Carol used to live right across the street from Macy's at Herald Square. Beautiful area, too. Oh, cool. So Penelope says, my dad retired from AT&T. Nashville is fun. So I didn't really like downtown Nashville, but I loved Vanderbilt University. It was awesome. Bob Lewis says, historically, when the money managers plow back into the market, historically, when did they do that? Well, what I think we're seeing now is, and I was writing about this in the newsletter, and we were talking about this a couple streams ago. If you look at the major equity indices, right, let's say the Dow Jones, the NASDAQ, and the S&P 500, you're thinking that this is no big deal. You know, we're only down 5 to 7%. You know, what's the cause for concern here? However, when you peel back the onion, like I like to use that terminology, peel back the onion, what we see is absolute carnage in high beta growth names. So I actually, well, not that I think, I know, we are in a full-blown bear market right now in very high beta growth names. So these names are getting dumped. And the reason why I think that is, number one, there's massive profit taking. You know, people made an absolute fortune in these software stocks this year, these SaaS companies, cybersecurity SaaS companies. So they're trading at extremely premium valuations and premium multiples. And usually during periods of quantitative easing, this is what we see in very high growth names. We see something that's called a multiple expansion. So the price to sales, the price to earnings, and all of these different metrics will expand exponentially until a point where it gets very frothy and things correct. The second reason why I think we're seeing this big sell-off in growth is because the Federal Reserve, or Fed Chair Jerome Powell, has signaled that he is going to raise interest rates sooner than expected and will continue or start to taper. And tapering essentially means that the Federal Reserve will relax their asset purchases. So right now, the Federal Reserve is purchasing U.S. Treasuries. They're purchasing mortgage-backed securities in order to provide liquidity and stimulate the market. So I think that money will move back into growth at some point. And I actually think that will probably be in 2 weeks before Christmas, so we can have a nice Santa Claus rally. Hey, Daniel G says Miami is beautiful. I guess I like it more than New York City. No way, Daniel, no way. I mean, Miami's beautiful, but there's no city like New York. Q-Biz says it's amazing how clean Miami looks. That was one of my biggest takeaways from Miami as well, is that this city is absolutely clean. Faith says nice views. Dan Russell says, do you have a plan if we go bear? So in my actively managed fund, I'll probably be almost 100% cash in a bear market. But in my long-term retirement accounts, it's just business as usual. And I'll continue to dollar cost average into the S&P 500 in my retirement accounts. So this is the famous Mandarin Oriental Hotel. And the Mandarin Oriental Hotel is actually at Columbus Circle. Now that's called the Time Warner Centers. I mean, not the Time Warner Centers. It's called the Deutsche Bank Towers now. Hey, Josie is here. What's up, Josie? Hey, Dallas Westmoreland says hello. What's up, Dallas? Good to see you. Hey, Faith, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate all the support you've been giving me on the channel. I appreciate you being here. So, Faith, thank you for the support. Much appreciated to our pal Faith. Hey, Laytha says, ho, 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 Tom. Looks warm and lovely there in Miami. I'm cold, all wrapped up in my blanket in Northern California. What's up, Laytha? Hope you're well. I would definitely love to live in, maybe not live, but love to visit Northern California one time. Daniel G says, Tom, one day we should discuss pros and cons of Miami and New York City. So I think so Daniel, I think you bring up a good point. In my view, I think New York City, and I'm going to get a lot of heat for this, I think New York City will always continue to be the greatest city on earth. I know, a lot of people are going to get upset at that, I understand, but maybe I'm a little biased because I'm from New York State, but there's just something about New York City that is irreplaceable. I think the second best city in the world, and I'm going to get a ton of heat for this, is Miami. I absolutely love it here. I love the fact that it's only 2.5 hours away. I love the fact that it's warm and beautiful weather all year round. I don't love the fact that there's a lot of... We haven't been getting hit with any hurricanes so far. I think one of the biggest pros about living in Miami is maybe the tax benefits, but historically speaking, incomes and salaries tend to be extremely higher in big cities like in California and in New York. Alex says, do you have a college degree? If so, is it in STEM? No. So I actually studied criminal justice at John Jay College of Criminal Justice in Manhattan. Hey, Robert A says, heat delivered to you on Miami, please. Alex Gray, good to see you. Hey, JK says, hello, sunshine. Hey, Tom, good evening. Yeah, Carol H says, New York City will always be my favorite. I think I have the best of both worlds. I really wanted to pick a second city where I can, quote unquote, establish a headquarters. And it was really tough. It was between two cities. But Miami, Miami was the winner in the end, so I'm happy about it. So I will be back and forth between Miami and New York City. And I'm extremely happy about it. I think this place is great. Hey, George Lopez, or Daniel Lopez says, criminal justice, get yourself a light colored sport jacket and pastel color shirt and join Miami PD. This is Daniel Lopez. Yeah, I mean, that's originally what I was going to do, is I was going to be in the NYPD, but then I went into tech. And I'm definitely glad I did that, especially from a monetary perspective. Let's just say that. I mean, I think the NYPD is extremely underpaid. I think all police officers are extremely underpaid. Think about it like this, everybody. In one of the most expensive cities in the world, New York, the starting salary for a New York City police officer, my starting salary was going to be $46,000 to deal with all these people running around. I mean, I won't get too political, but insane. So I have I just come out and say it. I have so much respect for law enforcement because I know what the stuff that they have to put up with. Have a ton of support for them. Ed Dunkel says, you should see LAPD pensions, unbelievable. Yeah, so Ed, I think you bring up a good point. So that was one of the reasons originally why I was interested in going into law enforcement. So here in New York, we have, Nassau County and Suffolk County police officers, which historically their pensions have been insane. Some of these pensions, you could be making $200,000 a year for the rest of your life. But actually now what you're seeing, and especially when I took a look at my NYPD compensation package, the pensions are egregious now. They're like non-existent. Essentially, they're just like glorified 401ks. It's not these tier one like you had with the sanitation department and the like. Now they're just really terrible, and it's a really bad deal. It's not like these tier 1, tier 2 pensions you used to have. Think about this. Think about like a Nassau County or a Suffolk County on Long Island. Police officers were having incredible pensions. $200,000 a year. Sanitation worker retiring, $200,000 a year pension. It's not like that anymore. The pension process goes into tiers, and I believe we are down to tier 8 pensions. Funded 401k plan. Hey, Obama's here. What's up, Obama? Good to see you. Yeah, sunshine after rain. That place is very ritzy, very cool. Alex Gray says, if you were to have a family, where would you raise your kids, in New York or Miami? As of right now, I would have to say Miami until the crime tapers off. But I would want to raise my kids in New York, mainly because the public school systems are much better in New York State. Much better. And that could change, but a lot of my neighbors that I talk to here, they say they have to send their kids to private schools because the public schools are not that good here. And I'm saying maybe I'm wrong about that, but that's just what I've been hearing from my neighbors. But maybe if some people that are from Miami could, jump in and provide clarity on that. Hey, Mike Skate TV. What's up, Mike Skate TV? Good to see you. Hey, Sunshine New York says, hi, Tom. I'm glad I caught you before you left. Hope you're well. What's up, Sunshine? Good to see you. Hey, Veronica Nunez says, what place is that, Tom? So I believe this is some sort of hotel here. I'm not sure the name. Yeah, photos from around New York says, regarding police pension, they are definitely underpaid. Shop by Scott says, I love when you say here in New York. As much as I love it here, New York City will always be my second home. Agreed, Scott. Definitely agree with that. Hey, Plum Alice is enjoying this tour and conversation. Appreciate it. Sabrina Fair says they look like luxury residences. Hey, Starving Artist says hi, Tom. Hey, Dallas says, love your videos here from Arizona. Carol H says, I went to Miami Killen High School in Kendall for a year. It was a good school. Awesome. Yes, we will do that later with the lights, with the cascading lights. We will do that. Ron says, Tom, everyone have a great night. Enjoy. Good night from Illinois. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining. Giovanna Connects says hi. How are you? What's up, Giovanna? Sorry if the connection goes out. I'm getting a flood of phone calls right now. This is when the phone calls usually start for the work week. Hi, Revis. Good to see you. So this is the Marriott Hotel called the W, according to Take Me to the Sea. Well, it looks great here. It's a beautiful, beautiful hotel. Yeah, Dallas says, man, look at the Christmas decorations. Beautiful. Sabrina Fair says, phone calls at midnight for work. Unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately, depressing to say, yes. They ramp up on Sunday night and they hammer me all throughout the night. But hey, we got to get it done. But the first thing I have to put on my to-do list this week is I got to get a backpack. So we've been doing this so much that every single backpack I own is totally broken. So all the straps are ripped into a million pieces. And now in my briefcase, my strap broke. So we need to get another backpack so I could read the comments while I stream. Hey, EBITDA is here. What's up, EBITDA? Good to see you. This is howdy, Tom. Hope you're having a good start to the week. Indeed, we are, EBITDA. We were talking about inflation today, EBITDA. The Turkish lira lost about 45% of its value going into hyperinflationary collapse against the US dollar. Latha says you need a better quality backpack. I know. But when I'm skateboarding, there's a lot of friction, a lot of movement, so it tends to rip them into a million pieces. And one of the things, everybody, that's so crazy about this inflation that we're seeing in the Turkish lira is that the government wants to lower interest rates. They actually want to cut rates in a time where the lira is literally going to zero. Like, think about that. Think about what a disservice the Turkish government is doing to the Turkish people. If that's not just a travesty, I don't know what is. They're in a hyperinflationary collapse, and the response by the government and the central bank is not to increase interest rates, but they're actually going to initiate more interest rate cuts, which is really, really just... it's horrible. Ooh, Plum Owl says, I have the same black suede JanSport backpack for decades. Excellent pack, in my opinion. Let me take a screenshot of that. I'll probably have to buy that. So I'll show you guys the wreath. EBITDA says it's going to hit zero. I remember we talked about this weeks ago. Yeah, we did. EBITDA. We did. Penelope says you need a sewing machine, Tom. I know. I really do. So here are all the palm trees that are decorated for the Christmas holiday. EBITDA says, are you going to be back in New York for the holidays, Tom? So I will. EBITDA, I'm actually, and I really don't want to go back, but I'm actually flying back to New York City on Tuesday because we are throwing a Christmas party for a client at the Boathouse in Central Park on Wednesday. So Wednesday night, I'm sponsoring a Christmas event at the Boathouse in Central Park for one of my bigger clients. And then after that, I'll spend I'm going to be spending like maybe 3 or 4 days in New York. And then I have to fly out to Las Vegas to do another event. Sorry about that, guys. I'm getting another call. So the stream may glitch a little bit, like shake. That just means I'm getting a call and I have to decline it. But then I will be in Las Vegas for a couple of days doing some stuff for a client. And then it's back to New York City again for Christmas. EBITDA says that sounds good. Are you trying to ink a deal or just showing appreciation? For this one, just showing appreciation. This client has done a lot for me, like a lot, and has given me a ton of referral business. So we're gonna have a good time. I can work in Las Vegas, says Alejandro. Noctis says, what kind of work do you do? I'm in tech sales. So I do tech sales and consulting. Lee, this is, oh my God, the calls never stop. Yeah, they usually, right around this time on Sunday, they pick up. And the clients just call me and say, hey, are you going to have it ready? You can have it ready. Let's review it. And, it's all this nonsense. I mean, it's not nonsense if clients are watching. I'm excited to revise the deal deck 20 times. Hey, Plum Owl says they must cost a lot of dough, more than just a few bucks. So I think these are supposed to be reindeer. This is a really cool area. This is beautiful here. EBITDA says, do your clients know about your streaming? If they do, I don't think they know it's me that's behind the camera. Masood says, how did you get your start in tech? Well, I originally wanted to go into investment banking and work in sales and trading. That's what I originally wanted to do. So I had a very small internship one summer at a hedge fund in New York City. But even before that, I was actually working at a rental car place when I was a teenager, and all high-profile individuals would come in because I was working at a branch on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, and a lot of them were investment bankers or software salespeople, and a lot of them said, hey, you should, look into getting into tech sales. I think you'd be good at it. And from there, I just started applying to a bunch of places, and I got an entry-level account executive position, and I started to do really well. Really well. And that's sort of how I knew about it. I never even really knew about tech sales. Zabby is here. How are you, Zabby? Good to see you. Sunshine New York says, oh dear. Hey, Dallas says, love the videos, man. Good night and sleep well. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Dallas. Appreciate you. Layda says, that's a great story to share with young people. Yeah, I would say you just have to try I would try any job out of college, or even when you're in college. I would just try anything. Just don't even think about it. George F says, what? Jeez, this guy is really hammering me. I may have to block this guy. EBITDA says, I got to pass out early tomorrow. Hope your Monday isn't too bad. Thank you, EBITDA. You as well. Appreciate it. Hey, TME TV is here. This is beautiful vid, Tom. But yeah, so tech sales can be, it can involve a lot of things. Let's say if you work for a cybersecurity software company, you know, maybe you're selling software that protects against Emotet threat emails or something like that. So an example would be you're working for a Zscaler or a CrowdStrike or Symantec, or really any of those cybersecurity software companies. Or, you know, maybe you're selling customer relationship management software. So maybe you're selling customer relationship management software or something like that. So maybe you work at a Salesforce or a HubSpot or a Zoho or something like that. Or maybe you're selling sales marketing tools. So you work at a ZoomInfo. Or maybe you're selling SD-WAN, which is a software-defined wide area network. So maybe you're working at like an AT&T or something like that. So I think the opportunities are really endless in terms of the realm of tech sales. You could be on the hardware side, you could be on the software side, engineering side, sales side, things like that. So hopefully that makes sense. Faith is glitching. Yeah, so Faith, anytime the screen is glitching, that means I'm getting hammered by a client. Hey, Doug is here. Says hello, Tom. What's up, Doug? Good to see you. QBiz says that's cool, Tom. I know you're glad you took those executives' advice into researching your current field. Hey, Daniel G says, gotta go, Tom. Good night. I think I gotta go too. So I'm going to, we're gonna head back, walk up the bridge, and we'll head out. So I guess I'll take you guys with me. But I appreciate everybody joining, and have a great night. Have a good rest of your weekend. And it's back to work tomorrow. We got a lot to cover. Hopefully we will be live tomorrow on Monday, covering the market action. Hey, anonymous dude, I see you. What's going on? Good to see you, anonymous. But before I started the stream, the S&P 500 futures, we were positive about 25 points. The Dow was positive, as well as the NASDAQ. But the main thing to look out for is crude oil. We need to watch crude oil. In order for this market to rally, and in order for this market to rebound from its correction, we need to keep our eyes on crude oil. So if you want to do that, if you type in ticker symbol CL into Google or something like that, that is the futures contract for crude oil. So you could always stay up to date on the price of crude via the futures contract with ticker symbol CL. CL. Hey, Shop by Scott says, buenos noches, Tom. Great week ahead. You as well, Scott. British Gray. Hope you have a good week. So I believe once the Aston Martin building is complete, the entire thing is going to light up the skyline. So I'm extremely excited about that. Hey, starving artist says, good night, Tom. Try to get some rest and turn off your phone. Absolutely. So here's the Capitol Grill. We actually have one down in Lower Manhattan. But good to see you, starving artist, as always. Hope you're well. Disney cast members says snow here in Arizona. Wow, can you imagine eating out here with the view? That'd be pretty cool. This patio looks beautiful, overlooking the bay here. Hey, the Mighty Lion says, hey Thomas, what's going on? Well, look at this down here, guys. Look at all those palm trees down there. Hey, David is here. Medrano, David Medrano, what's going on, David? Ooh, sunshine after rain, you gotta wake up at 6 a.m. I'll probably be up around 7:30. Hey, Tom, good to see you, Tom. Happy Sunday. The Mighty Lions family, good to see you. Oh, everybody, I was gonna tell you, this week is very important. All of the home builders will be reporting earnings. So we have Toll Brothers and all of the single-family home builder stocks reporting earnings. This is going to be extremely, extremely important to keep our eyes on, because it'll give us an insight to the demand in the single-family housing market, and maybe we can get some insight into new housing starts. So this is going to be extremely important to watch next week, as all of these single-family home builders report earnings. So we'll be sure to cover that on the streams going forward. I'll give you guys one last look at the City National Bank building. Take Me to the Sea. Says, I remember there was a beautiful old Spanish design apartment building where the grill was, but now not anymore. Hey, Carolina Tom says, another great night, buddy. Thank you, Carolina Tom. I appreciate you joining. I appreciate your insights every night. So if you guys enjoyed the stream tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video. And we'd be more than happy to welcome you back to another stream very soon. Yeah, Disney cast member says, looks like a giant wedding cake. It kind of does. So here comes the Metro Mover. Hey, Layla, this is Whole Foods. Sabrina Fair, thank you for joining. I hope you have a great week. And I hope you had a good weekend, Sabrina. Take Me to the Sea, says Tom. Lovely walk as usual. Thank you, Take Me to the Sea. Massmood says, how much did you pay for your house in Miami? A little under 400. Andy says good night, Tom. Good night, Andy. Tom says I need a moped. I see a lot of people driving around with mopeds here. Come here in the Philippines, maybe. I would like to visit the Philippines. Layda, no problem. Thank you for joining. I guess we'll end it once I get to the bus stop. Penelope says, thanks, Tom. Have a great night. Everyone take care of skates. Yeah, so the cat, I do have a cat that lives outside of the house. I can't wait to get the skateboard back, everybody. We will be back up and running very soon, I promise. Hey, Otto says, thanks, Tom. Good night. Thank you, Otto. Appreciate it. And as always, guys, if you want, if you Google the Fed's balance sheet, you'll be able to track the Fed's balance sheet in real time. And there's a direct correlation between the Fed's balance sheet and equities prices. Layda, what happened to the skateboard? So it's in New York City, but I do have one down here. But I just haven't been able to ride it as much as I should. And I'm not sure I want to crack it out for the stream just yet. But we will very soon, Layda, I promise. Coral Gable Avenue. Okay, everybody, we are coming up to the bus. Ian says, ciao. Ian, thank you for joining. Always good talking with you on the stream. Does anybody know what time it is? Just a quick time check in the chat. If we could. Very brief time check. Hey, the Swan. Yes, the Swan. I saw him in here maybe an hour ago. 11:50. Copy that. Wow, it's almost midnight, guys. Isn't that crazy? It's almost midnight. Tom says, remember the manatees. We will, Tom. I promise. Here's a nice Christmas tree up ahead if you guys want to check it out. Hey, George Lopez, take care. Thank you, George. Appreciate it. All right, so I'll leave you guys off with a view of East Flagler Street. So I appreciate everybody joining. If you've enjoyed the stream, feel free to leave the video a like, subscribe if you are new, and I will see you guys right back here tomorrow as we cover the markets. We'll cover all of the home builder earnings. Let's keep our eye on crude oil and that 10-year yield as we go into the brand new trading week of Monday, starting in a couple hours. So thank you everybody for joining. Plum, AWOL, Alan, Layda, Melee, Sunshine After Rain, all of our moderators, Penelope, I appreciate it. Have a great night. Disney cast member. And to the Mighty Bull, have a good night wherever you are, because There is always a bull market somewhere. You just need to know where to look, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.